Hello again. Welcome to the LaunchPreneur experience. My name is Fernanda Furman, and I am the host for this event. And today I'm here with Tenita Johnson, and Tenita is going to bring some insights for you on how to write a book and be a bestseller in 30 days, right?
Yes, 30
In
days or
30 days.
less.
Yeah. So I can't wait to hear all about it. So I'm going to let Tenita introduce herself and with her, background and what she does. So thank you so much, Tenita, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Fernanda. I am Tenita. Many people say bestseller. Many people just call me the bestseller. I have had the esteemed honor to author 19 books personally, but I've helped hundreds publish their bestsellers. And so what I do is under my company, my parent company is called So It Is Written. And so we offer three signature packages, either publishing done for you services for those clients whose book is already written, ghostwriting for those people who say, I want a book, but I don't want to write the book. So we need you to write the book. And the middle ground, which is us coaching you through writing your book in 30 days or less, writing your signature book in 30 days or less. And I'll get into a little bit more later about what I mean when I say a signature book, but this is not your life story in 30 days, or this is not your memoir or fiction book in 30 days. This is your signature brand book in 30 days or less. And so the name of that program is called Brand Book Bestseller.
Nice. Awesome. And I didn't even know there was a difference in between that. So I can't wait for you to talk about it. So to begin with, what is the difference? What makes the brand book different?
Right. So for me, the brand book is what basically sets you on a launching pad. So I am under the pretense that there are 7 to 12 different streams of income tied to just one book, just one. It's your signature book. So whatever makes you an expert. So the first thing I ask people is, what do you do well, or what do people know you for? So maybe it's sewing, but you don't have a book on sewing. And then once you launch the book on sewing, now people start inviting you to sewing conferences, and they want you to speak, and they want you to be a vendor. And then you're doing webinars and conferences. And some people take their signature book and they turn it into stage plays or movies or documentaries even. So it's not just a book. It's that signature book that's going to serve as a launching pad for maybe a nonprofit, maybe a business, maybe another book. Maybe it turns into a manual or a journal. Maybe it turns into a curriculum for a school. So there are so many different opportunities that people have when they launch their signature book, their brand book.
Okay, you just mentioned so many ways you could, repurpose your book that I didn't even think about that. So that was already like an aha moment for me, right?
Yes.
It's the first thing that when it comes to writing a book, for me, it's challenging for me to have words and to put things in the concise way that would make sense. So when you start your book, when you start thinking about your branding book, do you start and your, whatever the end income goal you have in mind, do you always start off with a story, or is the business story? How do you start that?
So I tell people, no matter what your signature brand book is, it needs to be a series of stories. There needs to be a series, whether it's client testimonials, whether it's customers who you've transformed their lives through your signature program. And so now this is more of the reason why these people should book you to speak or book you for their conference. But there should be stories followed by the principles. So not just giving them a book full of principles or steps or keys, but tell me how people have now applied those keys and principles to their life.
Okay. Yeah. So just by having testimonials is already a beginning for you, right?
Oh, for sure. So you should always be collecting testimonials, always. And I tell people this all the time. People remember a good story, even if they don't remember the concept. So we all know the story of the 3 little pigs. The 3 little pigs is not just about the 3 little pigs. The whole purpose of it is you need to build on a firm foundation. but we remember the story of the three little pigs. So it's the same concept. When you give people a powerful enough story, they'll remember the story. And yes, they remember the principle, but more than anything, the story is what sticks. The story is what makes your message sticky.
Yes, absolutely. And throughout this event, we have been talking, I have been talking to so many different speakers that talk about message and how that's important and why it's important to collect testimonials. And one of the things that also helps when you collect testimonials is to know what the transformation that they see that you gave to them, not what you perceive as being the transformation. So for example, for me, I was always trying to build something over, the fact that, oh, my clients achieved this much money results with their launches. But in reality, every single testimonial, they talk a little bit about money, but they talk more about how I made them feel. So my brand was always wrong. I was branding on something different. I was not branding on something right. So if I had started a book, as you're saying, on that concept without listening to the testimonials, I would not be serving my future clients.
Right, because you got to think about it. Every transformation for every client is not financial related. It's not related to dollars and cents.
Yeah, so that was an aha moment for me here. Thank you so much for sharing that.
So now you have the book to write.
Yes, wow, you're just giving me ideas right now.
Yes.
So when writing a book, what are the pieces that because you said it's 30 days, right?
30
days. What are
the
things that comes in place within those 30 days that we need to keep in mind? We need assets we need to have ready, or, the things that we need to be prepared for. So when we go into those 30 days, we are going to be successful.
So I would say the first thing before we write a word, I tell people is, what's the purpose of the book? What problem does it solve? And who is the book for? Because a lot of people want their book to be for everybody, but the truth of the matter is, it's just not. Even the Bible, I tell people the Bible, who we would love to be for everybody. That's why we have so many different versions of the Bible, because the King James Version is not for everybody. So now we have 50 different versions for people who like to read a different version. So I tell people you have to know who you serve, and not just who you serve, but who you serve best. The key word is best, because we can serve a whole lot of people, but that doesn't mean that we're serving them best. The other thing is, I tell people pay for solutions to problems. So your book needs to be a solution to a problem. So you need to know what their problem is, what's their pain point, and you need to speak to that pain point in your book and offer them solutions, high level solutions, but again, offer them solutions. Yeah. The other thing is, I tell people, you have to think about the book from the standpoint of the reader, not from your individual. And I tell my authors this all the time. Even if the book is about you, it needs to be about the reader. It needs to be about the reader, because the reader needs to see themselves somewhere within that context to keep reading.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I feel like it's going to be an overlap and repetition throughout this event, where we are always, a lot of the speakers are really, and I hope the audience can really understand how important it is to understand what you do, who you serve, and what's your message.
Yes.
Why you need to have that in place, because it doesn't apply just for Facebook ads, or just for writing your copy, or just for writing. It's everywhere, right? So, and one of the things that you mentioned is the different streams of income.
Yes.
Right? And is that something that when you begin with the book, you should have in mind those streams of income, or you start just really focus on the problem and solution and the people that you serve?
So I would say focus on getting the book complete first. So for example, I authored a book called When the Smoke Clears. So after I wrote When the Smoke Clears, probably 4 years passed before I then turned that book into a stage production. So we were able to run that book as a stage production in 2017 and 2018. Fast forward, now COVID is hit. I'm now looking at how I can take When the Smoke Clears and transform it into a short film or even a full feature film. So again, I'm repurposing content that I already have and making more multiple streams of income. Can I make it a documentary? Because ultimately the book is on overcoming suicidal thoughts and depression. So I can go back and just make a documentary with other people and call it When the Smoke Clears, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely does. Now for launchpreneurs, we launch over and over and over and over. Is this something content that could be, created, can be repurposed into a book?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think a lot of people neglect to think about the content that they have that's not in written form. So do you have YouTube videos? Do you have Facebook Live videos? Do you have audio recordings in your phone? Do you speak? If you speak a lot, can you go back to those event planners and ask them if you can get a copy of your audio of you speaking and get it transcribed and then now use it for a book? I work with a lot of pastors. Pastors speak on Sunday mornings. A lot of times they teach in series. So we take those series and then we transcribe them and we turn them into a book. They don't necessarily have to write a lot of anything because they've already spoke it. It's just repurposing the content and now selling a different product.
Okay. So, like we were talking about at the very beginning, let's say, for example, today I decided I want to write a book. Mm-hmm. What would be the first step that I need to do? Like, I need to collect all my assets. I need to collect all the videos and everything. And what would be the next step?
So if you're using content that you already have, you need to pull down that content, get it transcribed so that you at least have it in written form in a Microsoft Word document. If you're starting with a blank page, I tell people don't start trying to write the book at all. Write an outline. So you need to determine, what do I want the chapters to look like? What keys, what tips, what offerings do I want the readers? And what's the main takeaway of the book? You almost have to start with the end in mind. What's the purpose of this book and what problem does it solve again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, now that makes sense. And then once you have the outline, then that's when you start coming back and kind of filling in the blanks.
Filling in the holes, yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that outline will serve just like a GPS. Is serving as a guide. So if I know chapter 6 or chapter 7 is the finale and that's the conclusion, when I get to chapter 7, I'm done. Because according to my outline, this was my GPS, this is what I'm following. I know when I get to chapter 7, my book is done and I can go on to the next book.
And do you have like a minimum number of pages that you've seen, like books that really do well? Do you have like a minimum amount of pages or chapters?
Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you asked that. I tell my clients, don't worry about page count. Don't worry about word count, because I have seen New York Times bestsellers with literally 2 lines on a page. There are some poetry books that have made the New York Times bestsellers list. They have stick figures for drawings. They have 2 or 3 lines on the page. They're the shortest poems known to man, but they are so powerful. And they have been on bestsellers lists. It's not about the page count. It's not even about the word count. It's about what you're saying with the words that you're using on the page. So I tell people, don't just write to fill the page. You're not just writing to fill a book and say, I have 100 pages or I have 150 pages. No, when you're done, when you've got your point across.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And talking about that, ghostwriting, it's something that I've seen a lot. And you mentioned that's one of the services that you guys provide. So ghostwriting, one of the things that I looked into it before, but at somehow it felt like I was sabotaging myself by not writing the book. And like not knowing if somebody would really get the essence of who I am and how I really wanted to transform lives. Mm-hmm. When you guys are doing books and doing like the ghostwriting, do you usually suggest people to start with something?
No. So I've literally taken people from blank page to book in hand. But what we do is, again, we go back to the beginning. We sit down and we do an outline. So we're on the same page about what's the vision for the project from beginning to end. And as I'm writing those chapters, I'm submitting it to the author so they get to review it, approve it, add, take away, delete, whatever they feel they need to do that's in line with their voice. My goal is never to write a book that's in my voice. If I'm writing for Fernanda, it should be in Fernanda's voice. So a lot of it is interviewing, a lot of it is back and forth. But at the end of the day, you're the one to approve the chapters.
Okay, now that makes sense. Which is right now, it's giving me that easy feeling about writing a book.
Yeah.
And maybe even this whole
Let's do
summit
it.
becoming a book. But and we hear about, okay, so now we wrote a book. Do you think it's important to have professional brand pictures taken, or you have worked on, on books where there's just images, but there's not a lot of images from the author? We have seen books where the author, it's on the front page. Like your book, for example, doesn't have a picture, right? But some of them, they have a picture on the front. Do you suggest that they would have their own picture in there?
So I tell people, until you are famous, do not put yourself on the front cover, because the world doesn't know until you become a world-renowned author, speaker, motivational speaker, whatever it is you aspire to be. People know Joe Osteen. People know, Steve Harvey, if Steve Harvey's face is on the book cover. But me, unless you're in a certain region and you see my book in Barnes and Noble, it's like, what's going to make you pick it up? Not my face. No. So that's why even like the book that's the other way, the book that's behind me, Hush, it's all about the lips and the finger. I didn't even want a face. So that was done intentionally. It's about overcoming sexual abuse, which spans races, dialects, backgrounds, all of that. So we were very intentional on the image that we put on the front cover. Now, our pictures are on the back, and my picture is on the back. My professional photo is on the back, very small. It's a small square. But I tell people, don't put yourself on the front cover, because that's not necessarily going to sell more books.
Oh my gosh, I am actually interviewing you for myself.
Okay. Good.
So that Good. You know. Yeah. And so there's, I hear a lot about, it takes a lot of energy to be an Amazon bestseller. And for you to really, somebody told me, don't worry about a book, because that's a waste of money. And to be on the Amazon bestseller, you need to be, known. And also, or partner up with other people that are already known so that you can build your brand. Is that the case?
That's not the case. So I help my clients run an Amazon bestseller campaign. So as we prepare to launch the book, even sometimes while we're still writing the book, the ebook may be available, but the print book may not be out. So we can run an Amazon bestseller campaign just for the ebook alone and start generating sales and buzz for the print book. And it's easier than you think. The other thing I would say is, to the person who says it's a waste of time, for me, a book is now the new business card. I want your business card, but if you give me your book and I read it and I'm inspired or I'm transformed, now I'm more apt to call you than if you just hand me a business card.
Yes, that's a great perspective. So it is a new business card, because I have bought products from a book that I read and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to achieve those results. Yes. I like what they're saying. And they're also giving something for free inside of the book. So when you buy a book, now it becomes a lead generation tool, because now there's something free inside that you want to go and download out of the website. And here we go. Here's your email. And now it becomes a lead generation tool as well, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Because your contact information is constantly, it's on the back of the book and it's at the end of the book as well. So.
So, and with Amazon, how long do you need to start your campaign? Because your whole process is from begin to end 30 days.
So even though the 30-day process is us writing, we could start promo for your Amazon bestseller campaign as soon as we have a front book cover, because what we'll do is we'll start taking pre-sales and pre-orders. So I have a friend who's already launching a book, I believe in January or February. She's already started taking pre-sales. It's December and people are already buying it. So they know on the date that it releases, it'll automatically be downloaded to their Kindle device or e-reader, but they've already purchased it.
So in that case, do you sell it at a very low price at the very beginning just to create that momentum?
So for the ebooks, I believe Amazon will not let you price it any higher than $9.99. But for print books, sky's the limit. I've seen people, publish books and sell them for $25, $30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And when it comes to publishing, because you
Yeah.
just talked about publishing, what is the difference in between self-publishing and traditional publishing?
Right. So traditional publishing is if you hire a literary agent, they go to Random House or Baker and Taylor or the big publishing companies, and they pitch your book to this company to see if they will pick you up. 9 times out of 10, they fit the bill to get the book published. They give you an advance. That advance may be 10,000, 20,000. But again, you have an advance from them. So you're now responsible for selling X amount of books once the book comes out, to then make them their money back before you start seeing royalties as the author. On the flip side, the self-publishing process is it's a pay for upfront service, but when you sell your books, you get 100% of the profit back because you don't owe anybody anything. You haven't taken any advance or anything. So some people would rather wait for a traditional publisher to pick them up, but that could be 6 months, that could be 6 years. They may never pick you up. Self-publishing, we can get it done today, and you can start selling on your own, building your brand reputation, getting more speaking engagements, and then prayerfully a traditional publisher picks you up.
Okay. And when you do the self-publishing, will the audience, the people that are reading your book, are they going to know the difference in between? Is there anything in the book that says it was self-published or traditional published?
So if they're really looking at the copyright page, they'll know that, we know our major publishing houses. So Random House, Baker and Taylor, if it's not a major publishing house, then yeah, it's probably an independent press, what we call an indie press. And that's what I am, an independent press and publisher. So most readers are not looking at the copyright page. I look at it because of the industry I'm in. But unless they're looking at the copyright page, exactly, you probably wouldn't even know. So yeah, unless you're looking at the copyright page, or most publishers have their logo on the back cover of the book. So that'll tell you too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never looked at that because to me it really didn't matter. What mattered
doesn't matter.
Content.
Yeah,
right?
It's about the content.
And what do you see being the major setbacks for people, or the mistakes that you see people doing when writing a book from the beginning?
Yeah, so one of the things, kind of like we talked about at the beginning, not knowing who the book is for specifically, because they want the book to be for everybody, not being crystal clear on what problem their book solves, knowing what problem your book really solves. The other one is not hiring a professional editor. There are many people who will say, oh, well, I hired a proofreader and it went through 1 round of edits and I think it's good. And then it gets out into the marketplace and there are 50, 60, 100 errors. And then we're trying to pull it back and do it over. So you definitely want to hire a professional editor. The last thing I would say is hiring a professional cover designer. You want someone who has designed book covers, not graphic design just for flyers or e-images or, just somebody on Fiverr. You want somebody who really specializes in book covers because it's going to make all the difference in the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Because you don't want to go back and it's trying to fix everything after it's already published. They just costly. Besides the headache, and in the end, it costs so much more than I think. The peace of mind, since you're already investing on this, having that peace of mind that everything's going to go, smooth and it's going to go right. So, what about when you invite a speaker to endorse your book?
So endorsements, I tell people when you're seeking endorsements, you want to look for people who are relative to your subject matter. So for me, if I'm looking for endorsements for a Hush, for example, I may want to reach out to celebrities who have been vocal about overcoming sexual abuse to endorse the book. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So it's not just somebody that is not related to what you're going to be talking about. Okay.
No. So if your book is on fitness, you want the founder of a gym, or you want Weight Watchers, you want those people who are all about fitness to be endorsing your book.
So it's not about you, it's about what you're offering, the solution you're offering in that book.
Yes, and the subject matter. So the endorsers need to be related to the subject matter.
And just like from beginning to end, what would run like approximately to actually have a book, to, to write the book, to publish, to self-publish and have it on Amazon from the beginning?
So
just like a ballpark.
Yeah, so I would say writing and publishing, probably anywhere from 8,000 all the way up to like 15,000. So that's including hiring a ghostwriter or coach, and then that's your publishing package on the back end. So now there are some companies that charge 10,000 just for publishing. Now that may or may not include marketing. There again, as in every industry, there are sharks. So you need to read the fine print. What are you getting for 10,000? Because if it's a full marketing plan for 365 days or 6 months or however long, it may be worth it if they're going to do some marketing for you on the back end.
Okay, that's something I didn't even thought about it. There's all the difference, like when you're looking at services, there's all the different things that everybody offers. And
yes,
and I feel like the book industry, as I see more of the coaches I work with writing books or endorsing books or having a chapter inside of a book,
yes,
it's just growing. Like
yes,
every day we see people, oh, my book made to the bestseller. Now I am an author. So when you're writing a book together, so let's say you're putting a chapters with other co-authors, right?
yes.
How does that work in terms of promotion, in terms of even collaboration?
Yeah, so Hush is the prime example of what we call an anthology, which is a collaboration of short stories centered around the same subject matter. So the first version of Hush had 7 authors. The second version has 8. And so each author contributes an equal amount toward publishing and marketing. And then each author gets so many books to sell individually so that they can then make their investment back. So usually I do a launch party together with all of the authors, if everyone's in the same city and state, or we've done it virtually, even in COVID, where we do it on Zoom. But other than that, each individual author will get their own copies of the book to sell and do with as they please.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. That's very enlightening. And one of the things that you're talking about, it's overcoming the fear.
Yes.
There is that fear that, okay, what if I write that book and nobody buys it?
That's the biggest fear, right? That's the biggest fear, right? But again, Fernanda, when you know what problem you solve and you're already doing the work, you're solely just putting your brand, your expertise, your experience in written form. You're already solving the problems. That's why I tell people, and that was one of the assignments that I was going to assign as well. Just go on social media and ask people, what word comes to mind when you think of me, or what problem do you think I solve best? And so normally when I post that, of course, people say books and, bestseller, and they'll say publishing and all the different things. And for the longest, I didn't have a book on writing books, but that's my expertise. So then I had to come up with grammatically incorrect. So
yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like anything you're going to do, and I talked about this throughout other interviews, is like always go for your audience. Always ask your audience about how do they feel about what you do and what could be better. If there is, something that could, like usually I do with my clients is, okay, what could I have done better? And what were you like a 10 for you? Because now I know, and I don't take that, what could I have done better, as a criticism. To me, it's like, now I can include this, or if I include this, I have to charge more for it, but doesn't mean that I cannot, right?
Yeah. And so that's one of the keys that has been over the years, helped me improve my business. When clients have come and said, I would rather have 2 rounds of editing versus 1. So I've added 2 to my packages. People are saying they want to see the book cover, they want to see the front, they want to see the back before it goes to print. Just implementing all of those things and getting the client to sign off at every part in the process. It just puts them at ease.
So yeah, even with the ghostwriting, I didn't know how the author would be actually so involved.
Yes, very involved, because I've got to be able to pick up your voice and write from your voice, not from Tenita's voice.
Yeah, no, perfect. And thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience about writing a book?
I would just say it's easier than you think. And you know what, Fernanda, I know this is true for you too, but you probably have the content somewhere right now. You just don't know that you have it. It's just not in book form. So you have it in audio form, you have it in a notebook, you have it in a blog post, it may be in your Facebook post, but somewhere you have a book. Literally, I have produced books from Facebook posts. 100 Words of Encouragement started out as a series of emails to best friends just to encourage them every day. So we're constantly writing, we're constantly kicking out content. It's just a matter of finding it and repurposing it.
Yeah, or even the conversations you have with your kids that other parents would love to hear and get encouraged. And, you know, I'm always paying attention on how parents talk to their kids so I can pick up something positive that I can do every day to make my relationship better.
Yes.
So yeah, even that, right? Anything could be bought and put into a book. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So I so appreciate, Tenita, you taking the time and sharing those, you know, amazing tips with us and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you.
And Tenita has, when you register for the event, the free gift is the brand book bestseller checklist.
Yes.
So I'm gonna use that checklist. And if you join us with the VIP experience, her gift is Grammatically Incorrect ebook. So that, can you talk a little bit about that ebook?
Yeah, so Grammatically Incorrect is kind of like a spoof on, and the subtitle is called When Commas Save Your Life and Your Sentences, because a lot of people don't know where to put the commas in their writing. And so this book has self-editing tips. It talks about the self-publishing process. It talks about how to choose an editor, the different types of editing, what to look for in an editor, the price of editing, all of those things. To help people be successful in the self-publishing process and the editorial process before they even get to publishing.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much. And the action step is, what problem, like she mentioned before, what problem have you been known to solve consistently? Ask your audience, ask your friends, ask everybody surrounded you, survey them and ask them, you know, what do they know you for?
Yes.
And then she's going to give you some feedback inside of the group.
Yes. So and just for fun, I'm going to go do it today just to see what my audience says today.
You know what? I'm going to do it as well. I take the challenge. So there you go.
Yes.
I'm going to do that as well. And post the answers in the group so Tenita can go there and connect with you and support you. If you have any questions, make sure to ask. And we're going to have live panels. Make sure to connect with with Tenita and ask her the questions you have about becoming a bestseller author.
Yes.
So thank you so much again, Tenita.
Thank you, Fernanda. Thanks for having me.